Hello and welcome to the Nerdosphere. I'm one of your hosts, Clayton, joined as always by the biggest palate this side of the Mississippi, COVID Bane, Corbin.
Hey, what's up? How you do? I be up to no good.
That be true. We're also joined, as always, by Hamilton Stan and soon to not be Miss Me With All That Anime, Tim.
I'm really proud right now because for people who are just listening in, I thought Corbin was going to lose his shit there for a second. And then I almost lost my shit. And I have no control when I start cracking up laughing. So I'm really proud of this intro today, guys. This is like the first week in a month that we didn't ruin it with laughing.
Thank you for not ruining it for me.
It's because I have something planned that I'm already laughing about. And I almost did it during the intro, but I was like, I'm gonna wait. But like I was already like, just the idea of it was making me like kind of giggle. So I had to rein it in.
Good God. Well, for those who don't know, this is the Nerdosphere. We're a podcast that discusses everything from the big screen to the small screen and anything in between. If you can nerd out about it, we'll talk about it, whether it be movies, shows, books, music, video games. Porn. If we want to talk about it, or if it's trending, or if you want us to talk about it, we'll talk about it. Tonight, we're going to discuss the release of the new The Batman trailer and the announcements that came with that. And we will also be discussing our thoughts on the current upcoming state of the DCEU with Shazam, Flashpoint, Wonder Woman, all that stuff coming out. So, before we get into all that, though, I got some to get off my chest.
Lay it on me, brother.
I'm ready.
So, I got 3 things. Don't let me forget about these 3 things. The most minor thing I'll start with. So, my wife has a GMC Yukon. And
it's a monster. It's a monster.
It is a large SUV. It's very nice. And the one of the back brake lights is out. I put it in quotes because sometimes it works, sometimes half of it works, sometimes it doesn't work. It's LED lights. And it's going to cost like $700 to replace them.
What? Yeah. It's not just the bulb then. It's like...
I mean, it's an LED
fixture.
It's an LED strip. Like the entire thing has to be replaced. It's a whole
that's
deal.
Expensive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a whole deal. So we haven't done it yet. But like I said, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Anyways, after my wife dropped our children off at preschool, because our oldest goes to school with his aunt, my sister-in-law, because she's the librarian at his school, so they ride together. My wife takes our 2 youngest over to preschool. She's driving back, pulls into our driveway, and as Corbin knows, to pull into our driveway, you pull up and around and behind our house. That's where our garage is. It's behind our house. So The driveway goes up the side of the house and then turns, and the garage is behind the house. My wife's sitting in her car on her phone, just pulled up, parked in the driveway. All of a sudden, she hears a on her window. Knock, knock on her window. She looks up, and there's a lady standing there, and there's a red minivan parked behind her. She, like, opens the door. She's like, yes. And the lady goes, hi, did you know that your brake light's out? And she goes, yeah. And she's like, okay, I just didn't know if you knew, so I was gonna follow you until you pulled over to tell you. So not only did this lady
home?
Exactly. Not only did this lady follow my wife with the intent to follow her wherever she goes, but she pulls up like behind our house and into our, like, this is our house, you know?
That's somebody who cares too much.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's exactly right. Like, if you're going to if you're behind somebody and you happen to pull into the same parking lot or something, like
Yeah, give 'em
maybe
a
then you
wave.
say, hey, your brake light's out. Just didn't know if you know. You're gonna
Ultimately,
follow this person and then so much
listen.
so pull up to their back of their house to tell. So weird.
Listen, it's Jacob's mom just being concerned because she wants to make sure that Abby is primed and ready for when he takes her.
Yes.
Say that's
Jake,
the only thing that would
not
make
Jacob. Jake.
the only thing that would have made this better would be if it was a dude named Jake.
Yeah.
She would have probably flipped her shit, wouldn't she?
Hello.
I forgot.
You need to hire someone, Clayton, to do that.
The other night we were joking about something about somebody, like a made-up situation, and Abby laughed and was like, "Oh, the punchline to Abby's made-up joke was like Jake from State Farm." I was like, "No, Jake lives in the backyard." Oh man.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
That is weird. That's very creepy.
Yeah, that's
very creepy.
Overly helpful, or you're just not all there and you don't realize that you've crossed the line.
Old lady, you said?
Either way.
I think she's just a middle-aged lady. I don't.
That's even weirder. It makes more sense if it's like
if she's not all there, then that means that she could just be coming over to be neighborly. But that means that you wake up with her. That means that you wake up with her at the foot of your bed. She's like, I just thought I'd fold these blankets for you.
Normal-aged lady, since we're all, well, Corbin's not quite as old as us, but 33, 34, 30. Almost 30, Corbin.
I'm 29.
You're almost 30.
I'll turn 30 till March, bitch.
That's almost. That's almost. You're almost at your 6 months.
Fuck.
September 11th is your 6 months. September 11th is your half birthday, Corbin.
That does suck.
I mean, I am not ashamed that the only reason I was ever able to remember my ex-wife's birthday was because it was the day before 9/11. And I told her that every year. I was like, hey, it's almost 9/11, which means it's your birthday.
So mean. So mean.
All right. Here's story number 2. FedEx can go fuck themselves. I hate FedEx.
So we're officially sponsored by UPS.
They suck. Like the memes that you see on TikTok and stuff about the drivers, it's for real.
What are the memes where like the driver just like throws the package?
Well, yeah, like FedEx like tosses it from their truck. UPS comes up and sits down like a normal person, and then Amazon walks up and like cleans the porch and like rearranges everything before they walk away. So I order my wife some birthday presents. I order them 2 weeks in advance, which for an online order is extremely early.
We talking Amazon?
NHL. Like, I ordered them from NHL. But in a day and age where most things come within, Walmart and
3
Amazon
days.
Comes within 2 days,
Mm-hmm.
So I ordered 2 weeks in advance, thinking this is plenty of time.
It should be.
I'm going to get them. I'm going to hide them. Bam. Over with. First, I get an email from FedEx that says, hey, your shit ain't going to show up till August 14th and August 17th, which is more than 2 weeks. Like, after my wife's birthday, it's so far. And I'm like, what the hell? Well, then I start getting notifications. Hey, your thing, like the next day, your thing's here. It's going to arrive in like 2 or 3 days. They came in separate packages. I ordered 2 items. One item arrived, no problem. Thanks, FedEx. The other item gets to Sykeston, which is 80 miles south of us. No more tracking available. Day goes by. A week goes by. Finally, I tweet about it. Because getting a hold of somebody at customer service is impossible.
Twitter works, though.
Hey, chat with us.
It does.
You click on the chat. Oh, we're too busy. You can't chat right now. Try calling us. You call. It takes 5 minutes to get through the automated system to get a representative to hear, we're busy right now. Try later. So then I tweet. FedEx sucks. A little while later, I get a FedEx help direct message. Hey, how can I help you? Give them all my information. They say, well, this type of package doesn't have tracking, so you'll just have to keep an eye on it. And so I respond, actually, it does have tracking because I've got tracking for every single thing for 5 days, and then it stopped. And then that person never responds again. So then the next day, I respond to that direct thing again, and I said, hey, can we get an update on this? Because this is getting a little ridiculous. Somebody else comes on. Yeah, sure, let me help you. They open an investigation. Reopen an investigation. Don't know what's going on. So sorry, this is really weird. Shouldn't be sitting here for that long. I'm going to open a formal investigation.
AKA the person before should have opened an investigation.
Exactly. Thank you. I appreciate it. Never get any emails. Never get another message back. I let a day go by, letting them do their thing. I'm not trying to be overly into it. Still nothing. So I message them again. Hey, can I get an update on the investigation? No update on the investigation. You might want to contact your person who you ordered it from.
This is their fault.
To get
this
you
is
a new one.
This is FedEx's problem. This is not the vendor's problem.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. So at which point I contacted NHL, shopnhl.com, and they were like, okay, I see that it's not made it, but we have to wait until the 19th before we can actually count it as lost. So hit us back after the 19th, which is now a week after my wife's birthday.
Mm-hmm.
So I hit them back, and they sent me a new one. No questions asked. NHL was actually super helpful. Lady, I was on the phone for like 10 seconds. No joke. Lady answers the phone. Shop NHL, how can I help you? Yeah, I've got a package that's been lost. I just need to get it replaced. Okay, give me your email tracking information. Okay. I got a new one sending out to you. That was literally the conversation. I said, thank you.
Great.
Yeah. Get a new notification. Of course, it's FedEx again. I'm like, here we go. Let's see what happens. It gets delivered. But guess where it gets delivered?
Sykeston.
No. It gets delivered to 943 Highway 00 in Farmington. Wrong street address. They got the right street. Wrong street address. Wrong town.
Yeah, wrong town.
Not even fucking close.
And the only reason I knew was because the old lady that got the package internet stalked me, found my number, called me, and said, hey, FedEx delivered your package to me. You can come and get it if you want.
Oh.
I would have never known. I would have just gotten home, saw a notification on my email. It was delivered, and been looking around my house. Where's this package?
Did you get back and talk? Did you contact FedEx again?
I didn't, because it's useless. It's useless. And this is on top
It's not
this
useless.
Is on top of.
It's cathartic. Rip
is
them
on
a booty
top
hole.
of.
Rip
This
them
is
a
on
booty
top
hole.
of.
They deserve to be told how incompetent and stupid they are. They have one fucking job. To deliver a package to a doorstep. It's not that hard. In the day and age of GPS, there's no reason to go to the wrong place. It's on the address. Just drop it off. Why are you going to the wrong door?
Hey, speaking of which, I never have any issues with Amazon or with UPS or with the U.S. Postal Service, even though they suck.
You know what it is? There's a 6'2", 300-pound man wearing a woman-sized Bennington jersey right now in Sykeston, Missouri. That's exactly what it is.
No, it was a trailer hitch with the St. Louis Blues sign, and I told Abby there's somebody driving around in Sykeston with that.
Fuck yeah, there is.
On there. But this is not the first time that FedEx has had a problem. In fact, there have been 3 orders like that came FedEx the last 3 or 4 months, and those orders, each one, I got an email notification once and got phone calls for the other 2. Hey, our GPS doesn't show your house. We can't deliver your package. Where do you live? To which we respond, literally no one else has a problem finding our house. If you Google my address or Google Map my address, there it is. What's your problem? Like, what are you using? Are you using a TomTom that hasn't been updated since 1992? Like, I don't understand.
I have a FedEx story. that We are now anti FedEx.
I'm anti FedEx, dude.
This podcast.
I told
So,
NHL, both customer reps that I talked to, I said, you guys need to stop using FedEx. And the other one, the lady, I didn't get a chance because she helped me out so quick. But the survey afterwards, I filled out, don't stop using FedEx.
Sucks.
Yeah. So last year, like around Black Friday, I wanted to treat myself, and I ordered myself a hoodie and a pair of shorts from Teddy Fresh, who, if you're listening, you don't know who they are. It's a company run by H3H3 Podcast, which is Ethan and Ela Klein, who are popular YouTube people. They're running a Black Friday sale, and I was like, this is like the only time I'd ever be able to afford this hoodie and feel good about it. So I bought it, and FedEx was the vendor, and it showed delivered. I was like, great. I walk downstairs. There's nothing there. And I go, that's strange. Where is it at? So I tried to reach out to someone, and I didn't hear back. I didn't hear back from anyone until the next day. And the next day, they said, it was like, it shouldn't show delivered. And I was like, why should it not show delivered? And I was like, I have a screenshot here I can email. Like, that's not necessary because we're showing that it's back en route to the vendor. I was like, why? They're like, it shows that it couldn't be delivered. I was like, why? And they're like, there's no notes as to why, but it showed that it just couldn't be delivered, so we're returning it back to the sender. And I was like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, well, you're gonna have to take it up with the vendor. Oh. So then I got in contact with Today Fresh, and I was like, I have a package being sent back to you guys. Can you just send it back? And they said, no, we can't. You have to buy a new thing. And I was like,
at regular price.
I was like, why would I need to buy something else? Can you just send it back? I'm like, it's just not the way it works. It gets reprocessed into our warehouse. And I was like, well,
do you get a refund?
I was like, this is a Black Friday sale, and you don't have any more in stock for me to buy. And they're like, I'm really sorry. And I was like, that's not okay. You have my package being sent back to you. Just send it back to me. I paid for it. It's mine. Like, yeah, it's going to get reprocessed, and I'm sorry. It's nothing I can do. They're like, you can rebuy it again later when it's back in stock. And I was like, at the same price? And they're like, yeah, we can't guarantee it because it's a seasonal sale. They're like, we can refund you your money. And I was like, give me my money back and fuck you. I'm honestly never buying from Today Fresh again. So it was a month and a half long process to even get my money back.
People are stupid with that kind of stuff, man. I did.
Yeah, I don't understand.
2 years ago, I bought, maybe 3 years ago, I don't know. I bought the Xbox One, Black Friday. Okay, so I didn't go wait in line. I got it Amazon Black Friday. It got shipped. And then literally the day that it arrived at my house, they dropped the price on it by another $50. I definitely didn't buy it right when it came out. It'd been out for a couple of years at this point. And so I call Amazon up. I'm like, look, it's like not even delivered to my house yet. And you guys dropped the price for $50. Can you guys just match the price? No, sir, we can't do that. You're going to have to buy another one and then send the original one back. I'm like, well, I'm an Amazon Prime customer, so it's a free delivery. So you're just costing yourself whatever the cost to ship this back to you is. Why don't you just credit me the $50? It doesn't work that way, guys. Sorry. You're just going to have to send it back. And then and I think he maybe thought I was like not going to send it back because it's a pain in the ass to go and drop it off and send it back.
Right.
He doesn't know how fucking cheap I am. I will send it back. Do not worry. So yeah. People are stupid when it comes to the shipping things. Like nobody can use their fucking mind anymore and say, oh yeah, you're right. And thanks for calling me instead of just sending this back and rebuying it because you just saved us money.
Well, I think part of the problem is, besides just training, is their systems may not allow for things like that. So not only are you not trained for a situation like that, but you also don't have, as a customer service rep, maybe the ability or the authority to make those decisions, which is a shame.
You'd think they know, like, oh, okay, I can go to my team lead or something, and they can do this because it makes sense.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, like, for instance, in my case, part of the reason why it took so long to get my issue resolved is there was no communication, and their excuse was, it's the holiday season, we were busy, I'm sorry. I'm like, that's not okay. I'm out X amount of dollars. I'm out X amount of dollars and the product that I bought. You have my product and my money. livid.
Yeah, it's a shame that they don't have good customer service over there. Usually, those smaller businesses like that have excellent customer service.
Kind of have to.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
All
why
right.
that's why you should shop at Nerdosphere, because
We have
bomb-
fantastic
we the bomb
customer
dot-
service.
weedabomb.com.
We take care of our peeps.
We do.
So
We
true.
bend over backwards for our customers.
It's true.
All right, so last story of my
Okay.
trilogy of stories tonight. I'm in the storage business. I'm a property manager at a storage facility. Business is good right now. Don't know why, but after the COVID restrictions lifted in Missouri, business is booming, boy.
Everyone's like, we gotta get
Very
our stuff
busy.
in storage.
Yeah, very busy. Don't know
People probably living in the storage units.
why. They're not. I walk every day. I have to make. That's one of the things I have to make sure is not happening because it's
No
illegal.
squatters.
Because that can actually happen.
It's never
Oh,
happened
yeah.
at mine, but it has happened in.
Call me naivete, but I didn't know that was a thing.
Oh yeah, you got to watch out for it, especially if you have like climate control storage.
Mm-hmm.
It'd be real easy for somebody to just
Guess that is cheap rent.
slip in and out. Anyways, I earlier this week went to go sweep out a unit because somebody's getting ready to move into it. And I go from a big one to a small one, sweeping them both out, getting them ready. As I'm walking out of the big one, for whatever reason, I look down. I don't know if I picked up trash or if I dropped something or if I went to just pick up my broom. There's fleas all over my pant legs and my shoes.
I'd freak the fuck out.
All over. Like we're talking
Yeah.
massive level infestation. And I'm like, fuck me. And I assume it's from the one that I was just in. So keep that in mind as I continue the story. I spend way too much time flicking and killing all these fleas off of me. And on my lunch, I go and I buy bombs and spray. Raid makes really good bombs and really good spray for fleas. If you ever have issues with fleas, buy the Raid purple can stuff. It's really, really good. So I come back, spray the... I use the entire like floor spray can in there. And I set off all 3 bombs. Package comes with 3 bombs. One's good for like a whole house. I set off all 3 motherfuckers in there. Come back the next day. Looking good. No fleas. Sweet. I took care of it. I go back over to the smaller unit that I swept the other day because I didn't finish because of the flea situation. Guess what? There's a bajillion million fleas all over me again.
Fuck.
So now I've got the same situation. And this unit is brand new. It's on the back side of my newly expanded building. Nobody's ever rented it. I was just sweeping out some dirt, construction dirt, because literally nobody's been in there. So I'm just getting it ready. I'm like, where the fuck did this come from? So now I'm like, did I track all these fleas from that one to this one before I realized, and this is already this bad? So I do it again. Go to Walmart, bomb the fuck out of it, spray the fuck out of it, close it up.
Please?
Come back today. Walking in the gravel in front of these units, I'm getting covered. So now I'm like, what is happening?
Where the fuck are the fleas coming
Where
from?
are they coming from? I open up the unit that I bombed. They're all dead in there. But when I'm out in front of the units, I'm getting swarmed. And we're talking outside on a gravel lot. I'm getting swarmed. So then I'm like, okay, the unit right next to it was just moved into last week. So these motherfuckers must have moved in with just
Some dirty motherfuckers.
some dirty fucking shit. And I'm thinking, the truck that they use is still in the parking lot. We're a U-Haul dealer. So I go out to the truck and I like pop it open. I'm like, I don't see any fleas out here. I bomb it anyways, just in case. But there was no fleas in there. So I'm like, surely if that's where it came from, this truck would also have fleas inside of it. but maybe
No
they all
fleas.
no fleas. So now, I don't know what I'm gonna do. The last 3 days, I've had to come home, basically undress outside, go straight to the shower, put my clothes straight in the wash because
straight into the like burn barrel.
Right, yeah. Like I think I've got all the fleas off me, but maybe not. And like
have you had moments where you're sitting there and you feel like fleas are on you and they're not,
constantly,
but your mind's fucking with you?
Constantly.
Yeah.
Constantly.
I feel
I'm
like this
sitting
is
in the office and I'm like, oh, okay, it's just my mind.
Fleas.
I feel like this is a Caddyshack like story. Have you seen Caddyshack?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't know if I believe you guys right now. Just being honest.
Well,
It's-
like with the
it's
mole
the mo-
thing.
And he picks up the Snickers, and they think it's poop in the pool, and he picks it up and he eats it. It's like,
I think Corbin has seen one scene from that movie, and
oh my gosh,
he's just hanging his hat on that.
No,
But
Caddyshack I've seen, but it's overrated.
I walked around after
agree.
emptying my remaining cans into the ground. I walked around this afternoon after doing that this morning. And there was only a couple that jumped on me. So I'm hoping my situation is almost under control. The problem is I still don't know where they came from. I don't know if they really originated from that big unit I thought, and they were so extensive that I tracked that many.
Out.
Right. But we're talking, the sheer amount is just sickening.
Sickening.
So tomorrow morning, I'm going to have to go grab some more killer. And
you're going to be there with like a lighter.
We're going to, yeah. Well, like I'm thinking in my head, is it going to be more efficient if I just buy like 3 gallons of bleach and just like drench this fucking lot in bleach? Like this is how bad it was. But now I'm starting to think maybe I'm on the other side because it wasn't as bad this afternoon.
So the guy who owns the facility,
Yeah.
like when you talk to him, do you say like, hey, what do you want me to do? Or is he usually just like, I don't give a fuck what you do. Just take care of it.
I haven't even told him.
Why?
Because it's my job to handle this stuff. So
where's the money come from?
Just our petty cash. I can buy stuff that I need. So
Clayton, why did you buy 217 flea bombs? They did.
I got it taken care of. That's what.
Your hair's like.
Don't ask.
Yeah, don't ask.
Don't ask.
So tomorrow,
it doesn't exist.
Still not solved.
It doesn't exist.
Then I'll talk to him and say, "Hey, look,
this is what exterminator out there.
This is what I've done. It's still not taken care of. What do you want me to do? Because I still honestly don't know. My only theory is it's that new customer that went in next to that new unit I was just talking about. But there's no evidence elsewhere. Like this person was in my office renting a U-Haul. Like they were in the U-Haul for a significant amount of time with their stuff. There's no fleas in my office. There's no fleas in the truck.
So are you guys allowed to check other people's rented units in situations like this where you're like, somebody's got fucking fleas?
We are not. We don't keep a master key. We lease the space, and then that space is the customers.
But surely they're like violating the rules if they've brought.
If they brought an infestation. The problem is like I said, there's no way for me to prove it.
Mm-hmm.
So I could call them up and say, hey, I need to do an inspection on your unit. But then if I'm wrong,
they want to be jerks.
Right. And they want to be assholes. So I'm trying to avoid that. But it may come to that. We'll see.
Damn.
Yeah.
Crazy.
The first time I've had to deal with this situation. Not in property management, but in storage. Apartments, you deal with that shit.
All the time.
Bed bugs is even worse. I had to deal with a bed bug situation when I was managing apartments, and it was terrible.
Bed bugs are so gross.
I got bit by a brown recluse at a hotel. Ever tell you guys that?
Whoa, no?
Yeah, I've got a nice little hole in my shoulder blade too from it. Yeah, so.
Oh, actually, you've told me that.
Yeah. I went out and I got really freaking drunk the night before. Got back to the hotel room, passed out. Woke up, my back was just on fire and I felt sick. I'm like, man, I think I'm really drunk still. And I was a little drunk still. My back was killing me. And it's like in a spot where I can kind of see it, but not really. And there's just like this big black mark on my back. It's like 6 a.m. I'm texting this lady that traveled with me. She's in her 60s. And I text her and I say, hey, can you come meet me in the hall? She goes, it's like 6 a.m., but yeah. I'm like, okay, cool. I'm not going to have a shirt on. I just got to the hall and she comes out and she freaked the fuck out because my back had gotten really, really swollen. It was super infected at this point already. I'm in Dallas. I'm in Texas. I'm supposed to get on a flight at like 9 a.m. And she's like insisting we go to the hospital. And I'm like, no. I'm going to fly home. And then if I'm, if it's still bugging me, I'll go to urgent care or something. I ended up going to urgent care. They almost admitted me to the hospital over this freaking spider bite.
You actually waited?
I waited.
So you got back?
I waited. I felt like death the whole time. And I don't know if it was because I was so hungover, if it was because of the spider bite. I think it was probably both, but mostly the spider bite. And yeah, I went into urgent care and I had to have Jody come down because Jody had to sign something saying she was going to watch my back because they were afraid it was going to go towards my heart, I guess, like the infection. I mean, it was a big deal. So the worst part about this, I call the hotel up the week after it's done. And I'm sitting here thinking, I want to tell them that they've got a brown recluse in their freaking hotel, but I don't want them to think that I'm that guy who's lying so that I get a bunch of free shit. So I call them and I say, look, I don't want to make this a big deal. I'm not even going to tell you my name because I don't want you guys to comp me a room or anything. I'm only calling because I want to be helpful. I got bit by a brown recluse spider in the hotel this time frame. I flew back to Colombia. I went to the doctor. They confirmed it was a brown recluse bite. I just wanted to tell you guys so you guys could check it out. And the manager was like, well, I don't know where you think you were at, buddy, but we don't have any brown recluse spiders here, and hung up on me. I was like, you motherfucker. So needless to say, the entire company doesn't stay at this hotel anymore because of that. But who does that? Like, you would think he'd be like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Like, if I'm him, I'm trying to get that person to give me his name because I want to comp him a room.
Or at least say, oh man, thanks for being helpful. Like, if you really think that they're lying, you don't say you're lying.
You just say, you know what? We're going to have it looked at right away. We're going to make sure somebody comes out and does a thorough inspection. Thanks for telling us.
Yeah.
It's an easy lie. People freaking suck.
Yeah. And let me tell you.
But it's probably what you said. This is probably a guy who's been trained to not say stuff like that because it could be construed. No. What's the word?
Misconstrued.
Yes, thank you.
He could be
as he admitting.
He could be accepting liability if he words it wrong.
Yeah, exactly. But he didn't have to word it like a dick.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
There's a way to do it.
Yeah. And brown recluses are tough to get rid of. Like, I'm gonna say impossible because we had a unit at the apartments that I used to manage that the attic was infested, like legit infested
with brown recluses.
We're talking
like
maybe
arachnophobia shit.
Yeah, like you open up the crawl space and all you see is brown recluses. Like it's
fucking terrifying.
Yeah, and Orkin came out. This was like the entire time. So before I got there, it was an issue, and they tried to do some stuff, and it didn't work. And when I got there, I was at these apartments for 2.5 years. The entire 2 years I was there, I worked with Orkin. They came out every so often after, we're going to do this. It needs this amount of time to work. It doesn't work. So they come back out. We're talking a 2.5 year problem, and they still weren't dead. And this is Orkin coming in saying, yeah, they're tough to kill, but we've got this stuff that'll kill it. Guess what? They're still there
some
right
resilient
now.
Bastards.
So,
jeez.
So, again, if you didn't know, this is the Nerdosphere. We love to just chit-chat, let you guys get to know us, talk about life. But now we're going to get into the nitty-gritty. The Batman. We've got the first trailer dropped. And dare I say, it looks very good.
Very, very good.
But we also have a lot of other stuff regarding the DCEU because this past weekend was the DC FanDome event where they kind of did a teaser. It's kind of like their Comic-Con, the 2020 version of their Comic-Con. Corbin's off camera doing fucking something.
I'm so nervous right now.
Oh my god, he's putting on his.
I'm vengeance. I'm vengeance. I'm vengeance.
Is that Daredevil?
He's wearing a Daredevil mask. He put his glasses on the outside of his Daredevil mask. He put his headphones back on the outside of his Daredevil mask, and he's holding a Dark Knight batarang.
So I mean, my headphones are on backwards.
Is that a legit batarang? Like, if you threw that against the wall right now, would it go in?
Yeah, it's real.
That's his home self-defense weapon. Some people have like a shotgun. He's got a fucking batarang.
This is a real batarang.
That mask he's wearing is actually really nice too. It's like hard.
I said, it looks legit.
Yeah.
I'm vengeance.
Isn't that your second one, Corbin? Didn't you break the first one or something?
Yeah, I broke my other one.
It's hard to get on, if I remember correctly.
It took him a good 2 minutes to get it on. He's not going to take it off on camera. He's afraid.
Oh, it scrapes skin.
It scrapes skin. Okay.
I have a styrofoam mannequin head that it's displayed on, and every time it comes on and off, it scrapes off new styrofoam, and that's literally human flesh when it goes on your head.
Oh man, that is nice.
All right, so like I said, got lots of DCEU news, the Batman, Shazam, Flashpoint, all sorts of stuff. So let's talk about the Batman first. A debate.
I'm prepared for a debate because yeah. So I'm pretty sure I know Corbin's stance. I don't know your stance, but I feel like I maybe fundamentally disagree with your guys' opinion on the Christian Bale Batman movies.
Okay.
I feel like you guys don't like the Christian Bale Batman movies.
No, hang on.
Stop it. Back up.
Here it comes. Hold on.
Oh, God.
Batman Begins is a good movie. Dark Knight is a great movie.
Okay.
It is.
Mm-hmm.
Dark Knight Rises sucks balls. It sucks hairy, old man, sweaty gym balls.
Wow. That really,
I will say
my head's gotten bigger since last time.
That the Dark Knight Rises.
The biggest issue with the Nolan trilogy is that
they're not Batman movies.
Exactly. They're not.
That is the
Batman
problem.
Movies.
They are crime dramas starring Batman.
Yes.
But
they're great movies.
But why is that an issue?
It's not
because
really,
they're not Batman.
It's nitpicking.
Listen, no, because tonally it's not Batman. At the end of the day, none of those movies actually utilize what makes Batman a unique character, which is he's the world's greatest detective.
Okay,
so what? At any point.
So what Batman movie? What Batman movie?
There hasn't been one.
There's not been one.
So you guys, okay.
There has not been a Batman movie that has actually adapted the character. This is my issue. So my biggest issue with DC right now.
That's why we're excited about the Batman.
Right. So my biggest issue with DC and their movies compared to Marvel and their movies is anytime a director does a DC movie, honestly, aside from Shazam, because Shazam was really good, they are telling a story that they selfishly want to tell and are just using the IP to tell it. They're not actually saying, this is a great story arc for the character and I'm going to breathe life into it. Nolan is saying, I want to make a nitty-gritty crime drama. And I think that I can make Batman be the protagonist. But he never at any point actually told a Batman story or used Batman in the way that makes him the unique character that he is. It is like there are people who love Batman and there are people who love the idea of Batman. Nolan was someone who made a movie because of the idea of Batman, but knows nothing about the character.
So I think one of your statements goes a little too far, because the stories are definitely Batman stories. Ra's al Ghul, the Joker. So I'll disagree with you slightly there. However, I do agree with everything else. He didn't fully understand or portray Batman the way he should be, and we have never truly seen a world's greatest detective version of Batman on screen. Closest thing we've ever gotten to, honestly, is Adam West's Batman.
I have gone on record saying numerous times that the closest comic book representation we've had of Batman is Adam West. Now, Adam West Batman is a self-aware camp comedy making fun of the early comics, but it's an adaptation of that era of the comics. What excites me about Matt Reeves' The Batman is he's not only said that he wants to tell a detective story through the lens of Batman, where the audience is on Batman's shoulder as he's trying to figure out this mystery, but he's also referencing legitimate source material and showing in his dialogue that he's a fan of the character and his rich lore, and has also said on other occasions that he's okay with sequels time jumping so he can explore the Bat family. Like, Matt Reeves is the godsend for Batman. He's finally going to give us a movie that Batman fans actually deserve.
Hopefully.
There's still room to, I mean, yeah, you're right.
Trailer looks good. We've learned from hundreds of interviews with directors and producers that talk a big game and then don't deliver. So,
See, I never had an issue with the Nolan Batman movies not making him a sleuth. Like, I never had issue with that. Where it really became a problem.
Also, don't read the comics, Tim.
It does. I have read many Batman comics. That's the one superhero comic book series I did read as a kid. Where the franchise failed is when you start putting Batman next to legitimate superheroes. And now he's just a guy who can fight in a suit. Like, it's not as big of a deal to me when you're not talking about a world full of supers. And it's just a guy who's tired of seeing the world the way he is, and he's going to stand up for what he believes, and he chooses to do it through a mask and an image. I think that storyline works just fine.
And it does, but that's the most superficial aspect of Batman, which is why we want more.
Not to mention, Batman has the most robust rogues gallery of any superhero, and 70% of them are supernatural, which means they would not have fit in Nolan's movies, which is, again, is just a point that those films were fighting the DNA of what makes Batman and his world so cool and unique.
Okay, so you say Batman Begins, good movie. Dark Knight, great movie.
Great movie.
Dark Knight Rises,
trash.
It's trash.
Utter garbage. Almost as bad as Iron Man 3. It's so bad.
I will agree it's the worst of the three, but I don't think it's a bad movie.
It's a bad movie, Tim.
It's not a bad movie. I just rewatched it like 6 months ago.
It's half baked. It doesn't make sense.
Puppet bitch.
They try to go with a twist.
The twist at the end is so stupid.
And what it does is ultimately deflates Bane as a villain. He's no longer menacing whatsoever. He's just a lackey.
Joseph Gordon-Levitt is, my nickname's Robin.
That is one of the most pandering.
Bend over and let me stick my finger in your tushy for you.
It's one of the most pandering Easter eggs ever thrown out to a fan. If you actually wanted to have a Easter egg for a fan, you tell, and you don't want him to say, "My name is Dick," because her response is, "I like the name Robin," so she'd be like, "I like Dick," but you can say, "My name is Richard," and that is an Easter egg that makes fans go, "Oh, that's so cool!" Like,
did Clayton just offer a finger Gordon his asshole? just one. That was the weirdest part of this podcast for sure. I don't think it's a terrible movie. It's not terrible.
It's terrible.
That movie is,
and there's no
hardly
way,
any Batman
there is
in
no
it too.
way he survived.
And the ending is so bittersweet.
The ending is like
he should have died.
If you like the ending to that, then you have to like the ending to Dexter. It's the same fucking ending.
It's the same ending. Doesn't make sense.
It's not the same ending.
It's the same.
There's no way
you fly off into the ocean to impending doom,
nuclear bomb,
and then you show up later and you're still alive. It's the same ending.
Wasn't it GPS that took it out to the the
It's
ocean.
a
So he didn't have to go the
nuclear
entire.
bomb.
You cannot compare
bomb.
the ending to
You
the
have to
Dark
be-
Knight Rises
you have
to
to
Dexter
be
because Dexter
hundreds
ends up.
Same ending.
Hey, Clayton,
No, it's
look up
not.
real quick on
You're
Google
wrong.
how
You're
far you have to be away from the fallout of a nuclear bomb. It's like hundreds of thousands of
How
miles you have to be
far
away.
is the fallout range of a
We're coming back to the Dexter
nuclear
point because you guys are fucking
blast?
wrong on that.
No,
Nope.
we're not.
It's the exact same.
If
ending.
anything,
No,
the Dexter
no.
ending is more believable.
It's
No,
literally the exact
No,
same.
it's not the exact same. And here's why. Dexter ends up running away by himself, alone. He's lost everything he cares about, and he doesn't have the passenger with him. It's an awful ending for Dexter. Maybe fitting because he's also a monster, but it's an awful ending. And the ending of The Dark Knight Rises, he gets to give closure to Alfred while he's still alive and healthy, and he ended up running away with Catwoman.
Which was a forced love affair at best, which didn't make any sense.
So
It's
you're
poor
saying
writing.
you're saying that's as bad as the Dexter ending?
Yeah, because it's
The
half
Dexter,
baked.
the Dexter ending where he sent
and
where
ill
he sent his
executed.
he sent his kids away with a perfect fucking stranger. The Dexter ending where he runs into a hospital during a hurricane and walks out with his sister's dead body and nobody says anything to him.
Bruce Wayne ran away with a complete fucking stranger.
And
Love
he didn't
his life.
send his kids away with a fucking stranger.
He sent his Alfred away.
Yeah.
Same damn thing.
Literally,
I'm
the
gonna
only
get on
thing
my boat
Alfred
that's
the
right outside
only
this
thing
hospital
Alfred
during a
has to live
hurricane.
for is Bruce.
And
he
then
was
they
like,
even see
hey,
each
dude,
other,
guess what? I'm alive.
and they don't even talk.
Bye.
You guys
Come
are wrong.
on.
You guys are wrong. The Dark Knight Rises, again, third in the series. It's definitely the worst of the trilogy. But it's
You saying
definitely
you saying The Dark Knight Rises is the worst in the trilogy is as blatantly obvious as watching any of the Transformer movies and being like, this is one of the worst Transformer movies.
no
Like,
shit.
obviously, it's the
I'm
worst.
I'm fucking agreeing with you that it's nowhere close to the first two. But to say it's a turd of a movie is a
It's
miss.
terrible.
Think of
It's
how many
bad.
shitty superhero movies Marvel's ruined us.
I would
Marvel's
rather
ruined us
rewatch
because almost
Daredevil.
everything.
I would rather watch
You're
Ben Affleck's
fucking
Daredevil
high.
or
I would
Ghost
rather
Rider.
You're
rewatch
fucking
Daredevil with Ben Affleck than watch Dark Knight Rises again.
You are
Because I at least
fucking
laugh.
high.
I at least
And in
laughed
fact,
that Daredevil movie.
I will go on record and say that I for sure have seen Daredevil with Ben Affleck more times than I've seen
You
Dark
guys-
Knight Rises.
you
Because I
guys
saw
couldn't
Dark
be
Knight
more-
Rises once in theaters. I've probably watched it once out of theaters, and I've seen Daredevil with Ben Affleck on TNT.
All right, maybe we
like
should.
37
Maybe this is where I
times.
finally come and beat you guys in a poll question. Which movie's better, The Dark Knight Rises or Daredevil? It's not going to be close.
I would agree that the poll would. I'm just telling you what I would rather watch. I'm not going to put myself back through. If they're
I will
both
also-
on, if one's
listen.
on TBS and one's on TNT, guess which one's on in the background? Daredevil with Ben
also-
Affleck.
I will also agree with Clayton that you're probably right. You'd win that poll, but I also do not care that it sounds snobbish of me to say that most people voting that poll do not understand what makes Batman great and is
So
blindly liking Batman Rises.
So you only have to be 3.7 miles away to survive.
What about radiation poisoning?
That I think that is with radiation poisoning.
And it was dropped into water, so that probably changes something.
Anyways,
It's a stupid movie.
It's not a stupid movie.
It's a stupid movie.
You know-
I would rather
Well,
watch.
here,
I would
here.
rather
I'm
watch.
gonna go-
Okay,
I would rather watch
wait,
BVS
wait.
than Dark Knight Rises.
Wait.
Oh, now you're just being fucking stupid.
So I'm gonna walk it back a little bit and be a little bit more realistic instead of being so extreme for
Mhm.
comedy's sake. The movie's boring. I hate what they did to Bane. Bane in that movie could have been really good, but they turned
Could
him
have been
into
great.
a puppet bitch. The twist was silly, super silly. And Ra's al Ghul's daughter's background, like when they revealed the background, stupid. And the ending is terrible. So, and you get very little. It's a movie about Bruce Wayne. It's not a movie about Batman. So those are my gripes with it. It's the worst of the three. I don't think it's a good movie. I don't have any desire to ever watch it again.
They also
Corbin
also
just
have
said-
spent
they also cared
way too much
so
time
little.
talking about the Nolan movies. We're supposed to be talking about new stuff.
Corbin just said he would rather watch Batman versus Superman. That
I'm
can't
never
go-
watching that again.
That can't go unchecked. That can't go unchecked.
I would
Martha.
I would rather watch Martha.
Wasn't that movie like
Martha.
3 hours long as well?
Yeah,
It's ridiculous.
It's very long.
It's
That was a
that was
crazy
poor
statement.
That
That was a crazy
poor
statement.
take. That's a bad take.
I
He'd
don't.
rather-
I can't
he'd-
get behind that statement.
He'd rather watch Justice League, the Snyder Cut, 4 times in a row.
I never said that. That's crazy. That's crazy. That's
Okay.
crazy.
We got to
Okay,
move on.
so the
from
new
this. We
Batman.
got to move on from this.
We gotta
'cause
move
we
on.
spent 30 minutes almost talking about Nolan. So let's give our impressions of what we know of the new. So impressions of the trailer, what we've read about. Tim,
Yep.
why don't you start? Corbin spent a lot of time
Being
arguing
Corbin.
the air.
What?
Yeah, so
I didn't bring up Dark Knight Rises. I've been excited to talk about the Bat family. I've been excited to talk about this whole new world that we could be diving into.
Tim, if you'll continue,
let me kick us
please.
off.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is a good moment in the podcast. If you haven't watched the trailer, you should pause the podcast. You should go and watch the trailer.
Yep.
It is the most excited I've been for a superhero movie since we've gotten out of Phase 3. Just plain and simple. I'm very
Phase 3 of the MCU, just for a little bit more context, just in case.
Yes,
But
Phase 3 of the MCU. I was a little skeptical about Pattinson being Batman. We talked about this on a previous cast.
Yep.
Clayton told me to
Same.
go. Clayton told me to go watch. What was the name of that movie on Netflix?
Rover, I think. Was that the one?
Yeah. I think so. Maybe. Anyway, I watched it. Pattinson he has legit acting skills.
I'm
Okay,
gonna look
he's
it up real quick so that I give the audience the right.
He's
yeah.
got some chops.
You have got to ignore
Twilight.
Twilight.
Boy's a good actor.
Maybe even
also understand
ignore
that
Harry
he
Potter.
hates Twilight. He
Special
literally has
agent
gone on
worldwide.
record to
By
say
special
he hated
agent,
it,
he
and he
means-
took it for the check.
He's
Which
done.
at the end of the day, you should respect, right?
I can't. I would do the same thing. And guys, anybody who's listening to this who says they wouldn't do it is just lying to themselves. If somebody backs up $10 million truck to you and says, "Hey, you got to go do something you hate for 6 months," yeah, sure, okay. He's got some legit acting skills. I like that the trailer is showing a darker side of the story again. It looks like we might get some of those detective elements, and we get flashes of several key villains throughout the film. It looks like the Riddler is going to be a key villain this round. We see Colin Farrell as the Penguin, even though you probably wouldn't recognize him if you saw it. And I think there's a flash of Catwoman in there somewhere as well. So we are going to jump into year 2 of the Batman story, and we're going to be flooded with villains right out of the gate, which, to be honest, that makes me a little bit nervous, because usually when you jump into a series and there's like villain after villain after villain, it doesn't turn out. But I'm still optimistic because
Batman's a
disagree.
character that you can do that right, though, because that's like that's Batman. Those characters are everywhere,
and they're doing it too tame with this movie.
Right. So, and this seems to be a year 2, like legit year 2, like the graphic novel year 1, and then the follow up to that. Like it seems to be.
You guys
accurate.
sent a message, and maybe you should tee up the audience with it. There is a show coming to HBO Max that's going to be year 1, correct?
Gotham
Yes,
PD.
Matt Reeves is being a creative overseer of, so it'll be a legitimate prelude to the movie, and it will jive because he is involved in its genesis and execution.
Yep, it takes place in Batman Year 1 era, and the movie is Batman Year 2. Before we move on, The Rover is the movie I was talking about. It stars Robert Pattinson, and the other dude is Guy Pearce. Sorry.
Yeah, he's got some legit acting skills. So if you guys are timid on Pattinson, go and check out some of his more recent roles.
Except The Lighthouse.
Well, I hear his performance is good in that movie.
The performance is good. The movie's bad.
The movie's bad, but his
performance is good.
Yeah. So I mean, he's got the chops to do it, and he played a convincing Batman for the 2 minutes we saw of him in the trailer. So I'm optimistic. I was not optimistic when we saw Ben Affleck in the suit. Right from the beginning with the trailer, I said, this is not going to work.
Yep.
And our gut was right, because he was not a very convincing Batman to me. But I think Pattinson can get us back on track. And what I said when we first saw this trailer, we need this movie to hit it out of the park, because the DCEU's, it's been bad outside of Shazam or maybe a couple of other bright spots. The DCEU's been bad. Batman should be Iron Man. He should be a character that anybody can go into a movie with an open mind and learn to love. There's enough source material there. There's enough history there that they should be able to figure this out. So this movie really has to be good, or I think the DCEU is effectively done. I mean, if you can't get the Batman movie right, I don't know what else I'd be excited for in the DCEU at this point.
My only issue with the movie, which I'm very excited for, I do like that it has a noir-esque feel to it, and I'm loving the Seven vibes it gives off. But my only trepidation is I personally am very tired of early Batman. I think that the more intriguing Batman stories aren't him getting up and running; it's him being established. Uh, I personally think that Batman is a character that you can just dive in and just say he has an established world and it works. The Batman movie that Ben Affleck was writing, I think would have been a really cool experience. It was essentially him getting stuck in Arkham and his rogues gallery breaking out and him having to fight them all off, and that would be fucking sick. Because at the end of the day, we will never see half of his villains on live screen, no matter how many movies they make. And that's a crying shame. I think the only way to get around that is by saying, like, maybe tiering them to where, hey, this is like a lower tier villain. Maybe it starts off in the first act and he just like fucking knocks him out. But the true villain of this story is someone bigger, and he has to use a couple stepping stones to get there. I also have been saying for a long time that DC's biggest and deepest property is Batman. And what makes Batman so unique are the things that are on the periphery of Batman, and that is his Bat family. Mm-hmm. You could easily, with very little effort, make a very intriguing and worthwhile cinematic universe just on the Bat family, and that would be one of the easiest ways to explore that rogues gallery in a tighter time frame, because there's a lot of great stories where Two-Face and Penguin both go to Bloodhaven, and Nightwing has to deal with them for a long time. So that's one way to kind of spread the wealth of those villains. And I feel like the only way to get there and to enjoy that time is to start in the middle of Batman's journey. Because even if we started in the middle of Batman's journey and we had 4 movies of Batman and 2 movies of like Nightwing, Batgirl, exploring Jason Todd's death or him coming back to life, and getting to know Tim Drake as the current third Robin, and seeing how all those different dynamics are at play and how this is a toxic family and how they could interweave and have cool cameos or after credit scenes, you then could have an event film of Battle of the Cowl, which was one of the coolest modern stories aside from Hush and Court of the Owls that Batman did. Batman died and he has his children left, and they have to decide who is best to carry this mantle and who wants this burden and who's going to deserve it the most. And that would be awesome, but you only get that payoff by exploring those stories for a few years, and you gotta fast track it a little bit.
And without spoiling it, if you've paid attention to the trailer, the card that he opens from the Riddler, we assume it's the Riddler, it has a picture of an owl on the front. So it's teasing that this storyline could be focused on the Court of Owls, which I don't want to give away that storyline to anybody who wants to keep it fresh for the movie, but it is one of the better Batman story arcs. And so I have to believe when I'm watching this trailer and I'm intentionally looking for clues of what it can be, and he has the card and there's an owl on the front, I have to imagine that is symbolic of something that we're going to build towards in that movie.
Yeah, Scott Snyder's run with Batman and what he did with Court of the Owls, I highly recommend that to anyone who like wants to kind of get into Batman, because it's a good entry point. It's kind of like a self-contained story, where it starts off kind of at a fresh point and it builds into this really cool way, and it kind of redefines mythology a little bit. But I would love to see Court of the Owls done on screen. That'd be fucking dope.
It seems like this movie maybe is going to have a fitting feel for the times that we're in as well, because it's hinting at Batman's responsibility in being a Wayne and maybe some of the economic divide in Gotham City. So it feels like there's just tons of storyline that is going to be more relevant than what we've gotten with Batman versus Superman or Justice League or any of the other story arcs.
Also, do you know off the top of your head the actor playing Jim Gordon, the guy from Westworld?
Yeah, I don't know his name off the top of my head, but he's a heck of an actor.
He's so good. I think
He's really good.
I think he's gonna make a really good Jim.
Yeah, I really like him in
Westworld.
Yeah, sorry. Jeffrey Wright, is that it?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, it's gonna be. I think he's gonna make a good Jim Gordon. I know that there's a small corner of the internet who's throwing a fuss about it, but he's gonna knock it out of the park.
He's gonna be great.
Awesome.
He's gonna be fantastic.
And that's such an important character to get right when you think about the story arc.
Oh yeah.
Even the actress playing Catwoman, who is Lenny Kravitz's daughter, I think she's gonna be good.
Real quick before we maybe move off of the Batman a little bit, to one of Corbin's points about wanting to just finally jump into like a well-established Batman universe. I personally, having read a crap ton of Batman comics and stuff, I actually really like stories that take place in early Batman, because all of the stories that you get now are like what you just described. So I think that this movie being a year 2 movie is a kind of a nice middle ground. So you're not getting the origin story again. Hopefully we don't see pearls dropping in Crime Alley again.
I've said numerous times, if I see Martha and Thomas Wayne die again, I will pull the trigger myself. I don't. Yeah. I'm desensitized to it. Like, it doesn't mean anything to me.
Yeah. So I think that this is going to scratch both itches. While it's not far enough into a world to do a Battle of the Cowl anytime soon, it is an established world. So there's just something about early Batman that I just really like. I don't know, the way he doesn't have necessarily all the technology and stuff that he's got.
See, for me, it boils down to
it's more down to earth.
Literally my very favorite comic character. He's the only comic character that I read in my actual voice is Nightwing. And I just want to see Nightwing on screen, but I want it to naturally be birthed from a Batman story or feel connected. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, if there's been a Nightwing movie in development for a long time. And if we do get that, it's going to be like a one-off. Like, it's not going to right now.
This movie could be the launching point for, like, maybe the second one takes place in year 5, or it skips way ahead, or, you know, Nightwing gets introduced in a slightly different way. He's a little bit older than maybe he was when he started as Robin, and maybe he starts working with Batman Bruce and goes straight into Nightwing instead of having to go from Robin to Nightwing. Like, there's ways to definitely do it.
I think that the New 52 gets a lot of flack, but one of the things I liked about the New 52 is they tried really hard to streamline the duration that the Bat family was under the tutelage of Batman, so it made sense that, like,
right,
Dick grew up into Nightwing, you had Jason, and you now have Tim, but, like, Bruce is not like an old fart. And yeah. I felt like they did a really good job at creating kind of like a coherent timeline of Dick was this old when he was with Batman and left, and these were like the other entry points of the other characters.
And then, of course, I would love to see Damian Wayne on screen.
Yeah,
I would love to see it.
But for me, the payoff of that is you have 2 other adoptive sons and a birth son shows up. Like, you have to, it's like I don't know.
Yep.
I feel like I'm contradicting myself a little bit because I'm saying, like, you have to earn that payoff, and I'm talking about jumping in. But I guess my point is, if you jump in correctly and it's written well, you'll feel those ties. But I just want to feel those things that I got from reading the comics.
So, Clayton, before we transition over to our thoughts on the rest of the DCEU, I know you said that there's more news for us to dive into. I want to pause for a second. I got to read this message that I just got.
Okay.
Oh my God, that was the best trivia yet. That came from one of our patrons. That came from Vanessa. So I thought this would be a good break real quick to talk about trivia. And if you guys have been listening to the podcast and aren't following us on Facebook or haven't taken the plunge on trivia, it's $5. Give it a shot. We put a lot of thought and time into trivia. It's something that I'm actually really proud of. We do our best to make it entertaining and different every single week. We put tons of extra content in there. They're almost always family friendly. If they're not, you guys would know just based on the topic. But this week we did one hit wonders. So I put tons of great one hit wonder songs in there. And then after the question, I put crazy music videos that are just over the top. And, you know, you got your Rick Astley and It's Raining Men and these just all-time ridiculous videos. And they're a blast to watch. And trivia is a lot of fun. So if you guys haven't checked it out, hit us up and we'll get you locked in for trivia here coming up. I think Corbin had mentioned this before, but if you've been listening and on the fence for a while, we can even let you play one of our older trivias for free, just so you know what you're looking at. You play it from home, you can play it from your phone, your computer, a tablet, pretty much anything. And I promise you, you're going to have fun when you do it.
Yep. It's interactive. It's like playing at Buffalo Wild Wings or a bar. It's got a question. It's got content afterwards to give you relevance as far as the trivia goes, whether it be a music video or a clip or some more information that deep dives. Tim does a great job building these trivias, and we do them basically every week. So check that out.
Yeah,
if you're not in the Nerdosphere Facebook group, go ahead and join, because that's the best place to find the trivia. Or you can go over to patreon.com/Nerdosphere and become a $10 supporter when you get entries to all of our trivia.
That's the best deal. I mean, we talk about that, but trivia in and of itself is a perk enough. Like it's really, really fun. Yeah. So $10 a month and you can play trivia every week. You don't have to pay any extra to get in. Plus you get access to our book club. Plus you get access to our super dope new show called Nerd Tea. Plus lots of other great stuff. So
like a soon-to-be D&D campaign.
What?
That's right. I'm dropping it right here.
Get access
folks.
to different merch. I mean, there's all kinds of great shit over at Patreon. So head on over and just take a peek.
Yeah, and actually we've you only have to be a $1 supporter to get access to that Nerd Tea. Mm-hmm. And to be able to vote on things that we do. So if we put a poll on Patreon about topics or about content or about an activity or just an opinion, like we're trying to get an opinion, gauge some interest of the community, you get to vote and help direct the show. So that's only for $1. But the perks get even better as you go up, like Tim was saying.
Even at that $1 tier, though, we're going to be putting a lot of other content out there. I've found like I have creative writings from when I was younger that I'm starting to put on there. My wife had an oopsie moment and shaved my head. And so you guys got all to see the pictures, the before and after, all that on Patreon. So, you know, if you just want to get to know us a little bit better outside of the cast, we'll be unfiltered on Patreon. So head on over there if you're interested in that kind of connection.
Patreon.com/the Nerdosphere. All right, so 2 things. 1, Corbin, move your flipping knees back, because if you bang your mic one more time, I'm going to lose it. 2,
I haven't banged my mic.
You have been.
At least 217 times.
I'm nowhere near the table.
As you're doing this, audio listeners don't know what I'm doing, but I'm moving my arm like this behind me, pretending there's a dog behind me. You're making mic noises. Bang, 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 bang. Bang, 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 bang. There it was right there. And now your phone's off because you're acting the fool.
Noah's Brahms knocked the lamp over. Listen, I have a puppy, okay?
I understand you have a puppy. We're trying to record a professional podcast for our lovely audience.
Byron liked the puppy.
As usual, I have to get on to you.
I wish the audience could see some of our text messages. There was one week where Clayton sent a visualization of how often he had to tone Corbin back because he was exponentially louder than everybody else. And it was some crazy number. In like an hour, it was like 175 times. Yeah. And then like for Clayton and I, it's like 2.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we've got some new...
the crazy... It was in the 300s, I'm pretty sure. How many times he peaked and I had to repair the audio, and me and you had like 1 or 2 in that episode, and his had 326 or something. It was silly.
So we have Flashpoint also as a DCEU point, which is very fun-ish. I don't like Ezra Miller's The Flash, but I have faith that maybe if it's written correctly, we could get something worthwhile. Flashpoint is a very popular comic book. This movie seems to be very loosely adapting it because they're saying that Reverse Flash may not even be a villain, and the whole movie, the whole comic is about Reverse Flash. We are not exploring an alternate world where Thomas Wayne is Batman. We are, for long-term moviegoers, we are getting treated to Michael Keaton redonning the cowl, where the Flash goes to an alternate universe, and it's the Burton universe, and he meets an old Bruce Wayne. Ben Affleck is also returning for that movie. They have officially said that for whatever reason there were like these loose rumors that Ben Affleck's Batman was going to get an HBO Max show, and that's not going to happen. Like, he's only returning for this movie, and it'll probably be put to bed afterwards. So I mean, that sounds interesting. I still wish that if Michael Keaton was coming back as Batman, I wish it was going to be in a Batman Beyond movie. Have him be old Bruce Wayne, have a Terry McGinnis character. That would be cool, and that would be cool. A fun way to pay homage to the old movies and long-term fans and bring in new fans.
He would play a perfect, like, old curmudgeon Bruce Wayne, like from the show.
I'm really surprised that his contract with Marvel, I have to assume he's still under contract because he was in the post-credit scene for Spider-Man Homecoming. I'm shocked
he's
that
going to be in Morbius too. He is in Morbius.
I didn't realize he was in Morbius.
Yeah, they've got set photos of him, don't they?
He's in the trailer.
Oh yeah, he's in the trailer.
Oh, that's right. Dude,
it's been so long since that. I forgot there was even a trailer.
That's right. That's right. He's at the very end of it in the prison. That's right. I can't believe his contract allows him to go still portray DC characters.
Oh, I don't think that there's any sort of non-compete clauses in the Marvel contracts.
It's crazy to me.
Yeah,
I don't. Yeah.
So yeah, that's more Batman news. We get
Michael
more
Keaton.
Batman in Flashpoint. It'll be interesting to see how they do that. Obviously, he's going to be an older Batman.
Yeah, I'm also curious if, like, is the point of Flashpoint to just show there's a quote-unquote multiverse and it frees them to just tell these isolated stories without worrying about a larger cinematic universe? Or is it...
They're giving it the CW treatment.
Or is it to do a similar effect to the comics, which is to say, like, all this other shit's going on, but at the resolution, this is the new timeline? Because, like, is the idea that Wonder Woman and Aquaman going forward will eventually merge with Pattinson? Like, I'm just interested in knowing what the end goal is for the DCEU, since they've already established some characters intermingling. Will they ever intermingle again? Or if they do, will it be like in a new rewritten timeline?
I hope they don't. I don't like those characters. I don't know if I could ever replace or compartmentalize that Pattinson's Batman, which I think is going to be good. I really do. Like, I'm very optimistic that the Batman's going to be good. I don't know if I can compartmentalize it all and then have his character go over to play with the rest of the Justice League. It just doesn't work in my mind. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they can find a way to make it fit, but it just doesn't seem like a natural fit to me.
For me, if we reach a point in the Pattinson films that it doesn't jive well, I feel like there is a piece of the Batman DNA missing. Because the only thing keeping Batman from feeling natural in the Justice League is Batman feeling natural with supernatural elements. And that is integral to, again, most of his rogues gallery.
I think
so. If you take it too grounded, you are in the long run doing a disservice to the character and the future stories you could tell.
Yeah. I mean, the benefit is it's a year 2 story, right? So you could potentially say Pattinson's character is never crossing paths with the Justice League because he's a young Batman, and the Batman that we see in the Justice League is an older Batman. So I think you could find a way to make that work. Maybe towards the end you introduce as an Easter egg, him finding out about the other characters or something. I would say that they're going to have to be watching very closely to see how the Snyder Cut does. Because if the Snyder Cut comes out and it gets roasted, it would be murder. It would be suicide to mix Pattinson's Batman with that cast. Just does not seem like that works. But if it comes out and we're all wrong and it ends up being a completely different movie and great, guess what? It won't be. But if we're wrong, then maybe we can get there.
They've backed themselves into a bad corner, unfortunately.
I feel like the only way it would work is you'd almost have to recast everybody in the sense
they're not going to recast Gal Gadot.
I know, but think of how cool this would be, right? Like Flashpoint happens and maybe there's even a cameo with Ezra Miller encountering Robert Pattinson's Batman. And so they're in Batman's world. Maybe he is so self-contained. He isn't quite privy to the fact that metas are a growing population in the human society. And so then there's like a seed of thought in the back of his head where it's like, I have to find my versions of these characters.
I want to go back to what I just said because it was a light bulb moment for me. And I think it could be a light bulb moment from some of our listeners that haven't put a ton of thought into this yet. This is a year 2 storyline. So everything that you've hated that's happened with the Justice League and Batman versus Superman, all of that's supposedly way in the future from where we're at in this movie, right? We're year 2 storyline. So I don't know if that's going to mean it takes place in the past or if they're doing present day year 2, but that's a way for you to try to compartmentalize it.
Yeah. The way that Matt Reeves has talked about it is there's no way that he's going to try to interweave his story to match up to Batfleck, if that's what you're getting at. Like that's just not ever going to be the case.
That's a good thing.
I agree because Batfleck needs to just stay gone.
Again, that just brings us back to they've painted themselves into a terrible corner. How can you ever have another Justice League movie? I mean, I guess you just don't have Batman in it. Or you do, and everybody's going to be like, why isn't Pattinson doing it?
They've put themselves in an awful spot.
Yeah.
They really have.
Nobody's over there thinking. Nobody.
They've made it it's almost like they've waved the white flag and maybe behind the scenes they have and said, you know what?
Just do whatever.
That didn't work. We've got to find a way to revitalize the brand because
this
everything else is trash.
This is what happens from the get-go. This was their plan with the DCEU, which was to let every director make the story they want to make and hope it fits together. It doesn't fucking work that way. No. And whoever was in charge and thought that would just work are moronic and need to be fired. Like it's just stupid. Like it's such common sense.
Yeah.
That there's no way that a director coming in with selfish desires of like, I want to tell this story with no sort of like barrier or like saying you need to hit A, B, and C, but in between you can tell whatever story you want, that they're going to tell a story that can be picked up and interwoven. Like it's just going to equal a hot mess.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we've talked about this ad nauseum in the lifetime of this podcast. Talked about how even though it caused some issues in behind the scenes on the MCU, having Kevin Feige be the single voice behind the universe ultimately is what led to their success. Yep. So
Star Wars didn't listen. The DCEU didn't listen. Nope. Maybe people are finally willing to. Get some passionate people that know the IP inside and out. Let them paint the picture.
There's a lot of newer, more legitimate rumors that Disney is getting to the point where they may say...
Didn't happen?
Yeah.
I've seen some of those.
Which is a shame.
What do you mean?
So, up until a few months ago, a lot of these clickbait YouTubers were just like making shit up. Like George Lucas has been hired back. Kathleen Kennedy has been fired. They're erasing
Kathleen
Disney.
Kennedy's been murdered. Finally.
Well, now there's actually more articles popping up from more legitimate sources that say it's rumored that Disney is kind of fucked when it comes to Star Wars, and they're really considering like either never going back to the trilogy or the sequel series like era, or wiping it completely and acting like it didn't happen.
Taking the approach that we talked about a couple weeks ago with Halloween, where they're saying, you know what,
Right.
Halloween
Only the first
1
one exists.
that's the only one that happened. 2,
Yeah.
everything after that, we're ignoring it. It worked for Halloween.
It
I
didn't
don't know
work
if
for
it-
Terminator though.
It did
No,
not.
Terminator
and you
tried to do it
can't-
again.
You can't sequel the original trilogy of Star Wars without Han and Luke, and there's no way they're gonna come
Han
back.
Solo will never come back. You could get Mark Hamill to come back again. I guarantee it. Han Solo
I think it'd be
never
hard.
coming back.
I mean, he's had some pretty firm statements on Twitter, like, I'm not returning to the role. But there's
Come
this
on.
piece in me that says,
Come on.
if they pitched him the right story.
Exactly. He's so upset about how they treated Luke. If they came back to him and said, "Hey, we're wiping this clean. Let's just for argumentative sake, Jon Favreau comes up to him, says, "Hey, I'm the new president of Lucasfilm or whatever. I'm the new Kevin Feige of Star Wars. We feel like Luke was done terrible. We're acting like this didn't happen. Here's the story we'd like to do, and it's amazing." You think that Mark Hamill would say no?
Or maybe they come to him with a slightly different approach and they say, what story do you want us to tell? Because we need you back as Luke.
Right.
Here's what we envisioned. You get creative control as well.
There's
I don't
no
know.
way.
I feel like
Plus,
come
here's
back.
$10 million.
I feel like you could tell a compelling Luke story in a Disney Plus show, where I've said this for a while, and the internet has agreed that you cast Sebastian Stan as a young Luke Skywalker,
Yeah,
because
he
when he looks just like him, and he has the acting chops to act like him. And my pitch is do a Disney Plus show where the story is told in duality. We're exploring unexplored territory with young Luke, and we're exploring untold stories with older Luke, of him building the Jedi Temple and stuff. And you just have a split TV series, just really fleshing out Luke as a character, to, in the same sense that the Clone Wars kind of makes up for Episode 3, because you like the characters. Like, the intent goal is make Luke a more robust character, so that the lasting memory of the last 2 episodes is more of a whimper than a shout.
Is Sebastian Stan Bucky?
Yes.
Same actor. Okay.
Yeah. And Star Wars does have lore that would allow them to not ignore but erase the sequel movies. There's a realm inside of the Force, or using the Force, you can enter a realm that basically lets you see different timelines, your past. So you could have a story that stops the First Order from happening, or there's ways in the Star Wars universe. They've already, in Rebels, so 5-10 years ago, they've already established a way that they could erase shit. So,
not to get too far down the path here, but very excited to see how Kenobi does, because to me, that's the blueprint that you can bring Mark Hamill back. Is if this show comes out and it's convincing and it's as good as The Mandalorian, which at this point I have full faith in Disney Plus taking over the Star Wars brand in the form of a show. I'm all in on that concept.
same.
If Kenobi comes out and rocks it, it's going to be hard for Mark Hamill to say no. I think they can say, "Hey, here's the blueprint. Even if you don't want us to ignore what happened in the most recent trilogy, let's just do a series of you building the Jedi Order Temple and teaching students and what was going on in the background there." There's probably some really compelling stories they could write.
Yeah. Agreed. So let's get back on track. Quick thoughts on Shazam. Anybody?
You mean Black Adam?
Yeah, sorry, Black Adam.
No, you're fine. My thoughts are this: I think that Dwayne the Rock Johnson looks
it's gonna
hard.
change everything.
I am very confused that the JSA is gonna have a huge presence in the movie. It's interesting. It's weird to me.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I continuously refer back to friend of the show Nick on Black Adam because he knows more than me. Because I feel like I always need constant reassurance. And Clayton, you've asked me a couple of times, like, is he really an anti-hero? It's like I've only ever known him as a villain. Like I don't get this angle. It's a forced perspective. Like he has tragedy, but every good villain is someone who thinks they're doing the right thing, but aren't. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's all about perspective. And I just think that
he's definitely a bad guy. And they're making him not. Look, they keep using the word anti-hero. So
yeah.
Truth, justice, and the Black Adam way, as he says in his little concept art trailer. So we'll see.
Yeah,
it's almost like to me that they wanted him to play Black Adam, but he said, "I don't want to be a villain." Like that's almost what.
Well,
has he ever played a villain?
I don't think so.
I'm trying to think if he's ever even played a villain.
The idea when they first were kicking around him playing Black Adam was that he was going to be the villain in Shazam. And he said he wanted his own movie. Yeah. And the only way for them to figure out a way for his movie to work was to make him an anti-hero.
Yeah.
But he was originally supposed to be the bad guy in Shazam because he's like Shazam's like arch nemesis.
Yeah.
I think he kind of plays a bad guy in Doom. Doesn't he? Doesn't he turn into a bad guy in Doom?
Who saw Doom?
Me.
I do think at the end he's
a bad guy at the end. But you're right. And there's a lot of big stars that have stipulations like that in their contract. I remember when there was that beef blowing up between Dwayne Johnson and Vin Diesel, like some of it was boiling down to not just their work ethic differences, but like I think The Rock's actual contract had stipulations of like, you can only knock him down so many times in a fight. And like, he has to really like protect his brand.
Yeah.
To where, like, he feels like if he gets his ass kicked too much, then people start to change their impression on him as an actor and a character.
Yeah. And as an actor, he is definitely heavily involved with his projects. So
yeah,
I wouldn't be surprised if
I don't know if you guys saw this, but he just bought the XFL as well.
I saw that.
It's a very
he's
interesting
become
move.
a major investor in that Acorn thing that what's his face from that 70s show, Ashton Kutcher. He's like the guy who
started up.
So
yeah, I think he looks cool as the character. I just don't. I'm not on board with the movie, like the concept.
Yeah, we'll see.
I think what we'll do, I think I can convince Corbin to work on this one day. If you're listening to this podcast and you haven't caught up with anything that happened at that release, we can write an article, tie it to this podcast, and put like the Batman trailer in it and some of these other still shots you guys have talked about.
We've got one live already that talks a lot about Batman from FanDome. Micah wrote it.
Yeah, there you go. So just check out Micah's article.
Talks about the Batman, talks about Gotham Knights, which was announced also a video game coming up. And
that looks pretty good, I thought.
Now that you say that, now that you brought up Gotham Knights, I do want to quickly say my piece about this because I've seen a lot of people online throw a hissy about this, that the Suicide Squad game coming out takes place in the Arkham universe, but Gotham Knights does not take place in the Gotham universe, or the Arkham universe, sorry. And people were like, I don't understand why. And people who are listening, listen to me clearly. Batman Arkham Origins also is not canon in the Arkham universe. Why? The Arkham universe is the brainchild of Rocksteady. Anything that is not written and made by them isn't canon in their eyes, and they have every right to protect their universe in that way. They didn't like the Arkham Origins came out, and that's why Arkham Origins is never bundled in any sort of Arkham re-release bundles that have ever been made. And that's why that they're not greenlighting this Gotham Knights movie to be a part of the universe either, because they aren't writing the story. Arkham is their version of Batman. Why would they let someone else play in that world and give them credit for essentially just piggybacking off their success? Like it literally kind of makes me mad when people are like, oh, that's stupid. Why is that not? Why? To me, it makes sense. Like it's their version of the world. They created it. They worked really hard at breaking the norm for a superhero game and making a compelling new Batman narrative. And then WB Montreal comes in and just totally has a half-baked game that's piggybacking off their success, and it's just like, yeah, we made a story chapter in this. Like, no, you didn't, because it's not our story. And that's how they continue, or they want to continue, with any of their future games in that world. And I'm okay with it personally.
Yeah. Same. No differing opinion here.
I'll say the next gen graphics that are coming out.
Good.
You see them displayed in that. The Call of Duty trailer dropped yesterday. The next gen graphics are sick.
Yeah, dog. It's gonna be a fun time to be a gamer.
Mm-hmm.
Sure is.
Boys, do you have any closing thoughts on the Batman or the state of the DC universe right now?
My only closing thought is, if they continue to try to make it a cinematic universe, they in trouble.
My thought is something that you said, Tim, which is, if they can't get Batman right, they done, and they need to stop.
Yep. Need to let it breathe for a couple of years if they fuck this up, and then figure out a new strategy, because a lot's riding on this movie. It comes out October of 2021, so we've got about a year to wait for it before it comes out still. So I actually read something, I think from Pattinson, saying he was surprised that we even got the trailer that we got, because I think they're still actively recording or shooting the movie.
Yeah.
So the fact that we got anything this early is insane.
I would also say that if they do fuck this up, they have to shelve Bruce Wayne. Like, you would need to tell, if you wanted to do Batman, you would need to do like a Terry McGinnis, because Robert Pattinson is our 6th Batman now. And I think at that point, it's brand damage. Like, there was flack for Andrew Garfield's reboot.
7th Batman, actually.
Is it the 7th?
If you count West.
Oh, okay. So it would be tiring. You know what I mean? Like, when Tom Holland came out, they were like, really? A 3rd Spider-Man? We're on our 7th Batman.
Yeah.
To be fair, though, it's from like the 80s as well.
Yeah. But I mean,
you're right. I'm not arguing with you. You're right.
I think that it reaches a point where it's like, you're gonna have to do more than just like reboot and have a new creative. Like, you need to have a new direction completely.
Who's the worst Batman, real quick? George Clooney? It's got to be George Clooney, right?
Yeah, George Clooney. I forget that George Clooney is even a Batman. So
he was bad.
Yeah,
I think it goes.
He's
Clooney
actually apologized.
Kilmer. Yeah,
he's apologized.
He says in interviews that he's sorry for that movie.
My bad. That's got to be the worst Batman movie. That's the one with Mr. Freeze, right?
He said on what's that British dude's show?
I know who you're talking about.
More the Graham Norton show.
Yeah, Graham Norton show. He said on that show in an interview that he thought it was going to be the best career move he ever made, and it ended up being the worst. He said he was so excited to do that. That was such a weird movie. Anyways, me and Corbin used to watch that so much, though. For whatever reason, as a kid, we wore that VHS tape out.
You know what killed the dinosaurs? The Ice Age!
Dude, I still see it on TV and I'll sit and watch it. It's so bad, but I think it's that nostalgia. We were the right age when it came out.
Yeah.
The action figures were awesome.
Yeah. I'm Mr. Snow. I feel like it's been a long time since I've watched it. I feel like I would like to watch it again. We might need a movie
riff that. That may need to be the movie riff.
We should. I think we should.
Before Velocipaptor?
Well,
no, we need to do that one first.
We need to do Velocipaptor first.
I've got it on VHS or on DVD. So we get a boys weekend. Yeah, I think I do.
Yeah. Yep, there it is. All there 4 of them.
Bam.
Val Kilmer was a good Bruce Wayne, I think.
Yeah, I'll agree with that.
Yeah, he's fine.
His movie's just garbage because you had.
I love that movie. I need to watch it too, but
that movie had potential.
There were some great moments in it.
Something that I forget about is Billy D. Williams was Harvey Dent
Yeah.
in the first two Batman.
Yeah.
And then he gets recasted to Tommy Lee Jones.
Yes. What a crazy recast, man.
It couldn't be any different.
Oh man. Crazy. All right. Well, I think that does it for tonight's podcast, folks. We appreciate you listening and putting up with us. Let us know what you think about the Batman and the other movies coming out and the state of the DCEU. Like we mentioned, we've got an opinion / news piece out by one of our new contributors, Micah, all about the Batman and the different Batman announcements. So go check that out. And we'll have more for you at thenerdosphere.com as we go along and as more things are announced. Be sure to check us out at patreon.com/thenerdosphere. You've heard us talk about it already in this podcast, but there's tons of sweet perks. At $1, you get our extra podcast, and it goes up from there. At $5, you get podcasts early, all sorts of stuff. So that does it for us. We'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.
Bye.
See ya.